The following transmission contains unencrypted instances of explicit language. Mature audiences are cleared to proceed.
Welcome back. This is part 2 of our tradecraft analysis of Spy Kids. In part 1, we set up all the major characters and got the kids in a position to set off and try to save their parents from the bad guys. If you missed out on that, there's a simple solution. You might want to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you can always stay caught up with us.
That said, if you want to jump in right here with us, that's fine. Just to recap, we're at the part of the film where the kids know what they need to do, they just haven't figured out how yet. But before they can even make their first move, sub-villain Terry Hatcher shows up to throw a wrench into the works. We'll resume at the safe house scene in this episode of Spies Like Us.
Yay.
Yay! Okay, cool.
All right. Before they find the third brain or whatever, Carmen gives Terry Hatcher the message that Felix gave her, which was the third brain lives. And Terry Hatcher's really excited, and she takes off her OSS bracelet that she had showed earlier that she was official, OSS bracelet, and puts it on to Carmen and says, "Oh, thanks for that information. You've just joined the ranks of women spies." Well, later on in the film, we find out that the bracelet is actually just a tracking device. And so I made that my best tradecraft number 1, how Terry Hatcher, as a older woman that a younger girl would be looking up to, used the whole like girl power to manipulate Carmen so that she could track her. Because Carmen would have received that bracelet like a big, like kind of like a gift of praise, and it would have boosted her self-confidence, and she would have never let go of it, and so she would have been tracked the whole time, and so I got my number 1. Just the way she played it, it was super manipulative. You don't do that to kids, like I'm not like commending like the act. It's just as far as
Right.
tradecraft goes, yeah, like as far as tradecraft goes, that was top notch, very well played.
Well, maybe it's the duplicate. I didn't think about this before, but maybe it's the duplicate bracelet that Carmen is wearing is what let Felix be able to track her location and give it to the kids.
Oh,
If they all have those bracelets, but I don't know, why did just the women have them? Maybe the men have a different thing. Maybe they have a I don't know, tie cuff
I think he went too early. I didn't buy that. Like, I think it's like that character was reading the script, and like when the spies were converging on him, and it seemed like he gave up. Like, oh, you guys go without me, before he was even like really gonna get captured. It seemed like he skipped. Like he could have gotten away. Like it should have held longer, because he was like right away. He's like, I'm not gonna make it out of here. But at that time, you didn't. It looked like he still could have made it out of there. Like he gave up too easily.
Good one, Lewis. Because and here, let me put these together. I mean, clearly the movie just wants him to get captured, so that's fine. So why does he go back? My thought was, like, he's going back to look for the third brain, because he clearly knows about it. Of course, he can't search the entire house, so it's stupid minus spy points for him. But also it's minus spy points, I would say, because if Gregorio trusts Felix enough to let him know about the safe house, to let him know about the third brain, and to have him be the guy that you call in to protect your kids if anything happens to us, you told him that the third brain was at the safe house, right?
Right.
All I know is when your cover is blown, you're supposed to do like a page in that Schwarzenegger movie with Vanessa Williams, where the spy. That's what I always think of. When your cover's blown, you do that text. You page him, and then he's going to save you. And he always works alone, of course. You know the movie I'm talking about? With Schwarzenegger, and where it's like that she's the Vanessa Williams is like an executive, and she knows about this weapon they're developing that they're trying to stop. And then she has to go into witness protection, but then what's his name? The other head guy is like corrupt, and so he's like giving up the witness protection people to James Caan. This is like a movie from like way back. I forget. You've probably seen it though. No, not True Lies. This is just it's some spy. It's like he plays like a guy that protects witness protection people. And Vanessa Williams is there, but the James Caan is the guy that keeps giving up the witness protection people, and eventually they figure that out. But I just remember there's a scene where they capture Schwarzenegger and then he sends a page to Vanessa Williams really quick, like telling her like, okay, your cover's blown. And he tells her to show up in like a huge, wherever the nearest place that's a huge public.
You say Arnold Schwarzenegger. Here, let's have Maura look it up. Maura, you say Arnold Schwarzenegger?
And Vanessa Williams. If you just, I don't think they've been many movies together other than that one. So if you put them together.
Yeah. Maura, movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vanessa Williams.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vanessa Williams star in the 1996 action film Eraser.
Eraser, yeah. Because I just always remember that, like, they capture him. He's on a mission with James Caan, and then they figure out that they just decide to get rid of Arnold to get to Vanessa Williams, and they give him like a sleeping man. But then he wakes up and he busts out of like a plane, and sends her a text telling her, go to a public place. So she goes to this huge zoo, and then there's a big scene where they're fighting at the end. But I just always remember when somebody blows your cover, you do a text and say like, go to a biggest public place you can find.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So, Lewis, do you think is that a movie you think we should put on our list for the Spies Like Us podcast?
Yeah, Erasure is good. It's good.
Okay. We'll put it on the list. See if it turns up.
It's got James Caan.
Way ahead of you.
Okay. I want to give some plus spy points. I think this is one of my best. So though you have the situation where like we're basically retired, for like 9 years, we've got our kids or whatever, but we also know like something could happen to us. Like when you leave the life, you never necessarily leave it entirely, and so setting up this trusted agent and setting him up with all the information that he would need in order to come and protect your kids. He says, I was assigned to protect your family. So I like that in general, that they have someone that's still in the service that's also like kind of tasked, like if the Cortezes need help or protection or something, you're on the case. But the reason I give it my number one best tradecraft is the foresight involved in introducing this agent to the kids at very young ages as their uncle and having them grow up thinking of him as someone that is their uncle and someone that they can trust, so that if something does go down that, and he needs to come in and scoop him up or something, that it won't be just some random fucking agent that they've never met saying like, your parents sent me, blah, blah, blah. The kids are going to be like, what the fuck? Get away from us. I'm not getting in your van.
Hey, but that's a good one. And that's another one of the mustache scenes too, when they're like, our parents aren't spies. And he goes, look, I'm not your uncle. And he rips the mustache off. Like that's going to prove that he's not their uncle and that their parents are spies. Just wanted to point out the mustache gag.
Full disclosure. I'm not as tickled by the mustache stuff as you are.
It's okay.
I'm very eye rolly. My eyes are rolling pretty hard when like Gregorio's like back on the case and he's like, first step, slick back my hair and put on my sexy machismo mustache.
Yeah.
What did they do? What were they supposedly doing for a living when they weren't spies anymore?
No clue. I think they're fully retired on their pensions.
Also, that seems like a family that would have pets. I don't remember seeing any pets, or maybe I'm forgetting.
They also live in this weird ass fucking house that's secluded on a ocean cliff somewhere.
Like they're the tech billionaire, like Floop. Yeah, that was pretty. Unless what is that? All OSS issued or something? I don't know. Yeah, that kind of threw me off too.
Who knows?
Well, most places aren't.
They're within driving distance of the school in the suburbs.
But you know why? Most places aren't zoned to have thumbs living with you. That's why.
Right.
It's hard to find a place that'll let you have those things.
I don't think that giant boot-shaped fortress is up to code.
Right.
I don't want to live next to any thumbs. They'll wander off. They'll ruin your yard. They'll probably try to eat one of your animals. I'm not living next to thumbs.
Right.
They seem like just like henchmen. They seem just like bad thumbs though. Even though I don't know how smart they were, they seem like bad people to me.
I mean, they fly on jetpacks. They attack stuff. I don't know why you're not. I don't really understand why you're not trying to sell the thumbs to the Americans. I feel like as much as they make fun of the thumbs as being like kind of incompetent, they actually seem to be like, I would say, rating thumbs versus Fooglies versus Robot Kids. The thumbs are actually like some of the most effective.
Yeah, even though the joke is right, is that like he's all thumbs, right? Like his inventions are all I think that, and so but actually those are might be his most effective things he has.
Yeah, the thumb robots.
And they do their job, right? They intimidate.
They basically do their job. Sure.
Except there is one thing I wanted to point out, which was, I think, my number 3 worst tradecraft. The whole castle that Floop and Minion run have cameras everywhere, and they actually get a shot of like the security camera room where they have all the monitors. And, you guys are talking about how like effective the thumbs are. They have one thumb watching like probably what looked like over 1,000 monitors.
Minus spy points.
Yeah. That's going to be my number 3 worst tradecraft, because that's how Junie and Carmen sneak in. They don't get spotted by the camera because there's literally one guy looking at all of those cameras. Like why there's that many cameras with one dude. Yeah.
Yeah, one dude who, if he sees something suspicious, he's gonna run up to you and not be able to tell you what he saw.
Right.
What about a spin-off movie with the third brain, where the third brain is just sad because he has to watch all the cameras? That's what he does, and he longs for more. It's like a spin-off movie.
Right.
Well, I think Robert Rodriguez has said he doesn't want to make Spy Kids 5.
So there's 4. I know there's 4 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I think 5 was the number I saw.
Is it recent? Is there one that came recently? I mean, is it different people in it every time, or is it the same core? The kids would be too old, right? They can't be kids. It's got to be new kids at least, right?
Yeah, I guess so. The kids do get away with the brain. They have the third brain, and Minion's entirely stupid idea is to send duplicates of the kids. We know that we've made robot versions of all of the kids of like all the major leaders or power brokers in the world, and somewhere along the way I guess we found time to make duplicates of these kids. Not sure how you actually accomplish that. We'll let that go. What annoys me about this, it's not the stupidest thing in the movie, but it annoys me because I think it's just done for the stupidest reason.
Steve Buscemi is in Spy Kids too. That's worth seeing it, maybe just for Steve Buscemi.
Oh yeah. Well,
and the little kids are in it. They're like spies now. And I'm just looking at the Wikipedia, and the Carlo Gugino and Antonio Banderas and the 2 kids are in it. And then there's other kids in it too.
Well, for you guys listening, here's our official announcement of jumping to Spy Kids 2.
It came out right away, 2002. They didn't waste any time. They pumped it out the next year, 2002.
Oh wow! Yeah, just one to the other. Yeah, no, I think we're all Spy Kids'd out. I don't think.
I'm never coming back to this franchise. I would not have finished this movie if it wasn't for doing the podcast. I would have watched maybe 30 minutes, realized what it was, realized it was not barking up my tree at all, and turned it off.
So from your podcast, what's a movie that you saw again that you like a lot more that when you did and what's in the movie that when you looked at it again you'd like it less?
Oh, okay. Wait. I have our list of movies we've done so far. Say that question again. That's an interesting one.
Like a movie that when you revisit it for your podcast, now you like it less. Like it was a movie you really like, and then when you look in more detail, you're like, nah, I don't like it as much. And then a movie like that you kind of overlooked it, but then upon further, when you did the podcast about, you're like, that's a really good movie. I just never appreciated it.
I think Atomic Blonde slipped down for me about as much as it could from rewatching and analyzing, but that was just like basically from a Todd rating of 5 to a Todd rating of 4. So
That's like more of a, isn't that like a action? More, I always think of that as more of an action than a spy. But I guess she is. But I mean, it's like the movie's more about her just kicking ass, right? Than it is about like spy stuff. Isn't it?
We actually discussed that in the podcast because that's what I thought when I saw the trailer and heard the name of the film. And people asked me, "Oh, are you going to go see Atomic Blonde?" I'm like, "Fuck no." And then they had to explain to me, "Wait, no, it's actually a spy film." So then when I went and watched it, I was like, "Oh yeah,
it's a character, right? It's a cart. Isn't it a cart? I mean, a comic book character.
Yeah, but it was
sort of.
Yeah.
I read.
So that's a good movie. You guys really like that, then, huh?
Well, that movie is just barking. That movie is barking up my tree. That's a made for Todd movie. You're gonna put Charlie. Like the movie is just super stylized. It's just got great performances. It's just got a great mood. It's got a great soundtrack. It's got great action. It's a lot of things that I really like in a movie. But it was pretty hard to like it as much after looking at just how bad the tradecraft was handled in it. I mean, there's just some huge glaring errors. And retroactively, I didn't get a chance to read the comic before we did the podcast, but I have read it since, and it's an entirely different story. Like, she's not blonde. She's just an unassuming, very quiet. I think one of the writers, like the comment he made, like, she shoots her gun in the comic. She shoots her gun only 3 times in the comic, and out of those 3 shots, only one of them actually hit anybody.
Wow.
It's a much more cerebral, direct misdirection, lies within lies kind of thing, and it's just much more coherent.
But you like it less upon further inspection. That's one that you like a little bit less when you looked at it more.
I'll just say it was harder to love. It was a little bit harder to love.
What about one movie that you liked more when you looked at it more, when you gave it a
well,
podcast?
I didn't get to say mine.
What?
I didn't get to say mine.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Say what yours is, too, before you get to the ones that you liked more.
I actually grew up watching Sneakers as a kid because it was like a family favorite, mainly because the cast is like a really great cast. You got Dan Aykroyd and Robert Redford, and there's just a bunch of people on the cast. But when I went back and watched it, it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was. So that one kind of slipped down a little bit. But I still really enjoy the film. And watching it now made me appreciate the tradecraft more than I would have realized as a kid. But yeah, going back and watching it, I think it lowered in how high regard I had for it. But it's still a great movie and definitely a must watch.
As far as disappointments too, I think it's worth mentioning for both me and Dave that even though we weren't familiar with the movie before we did it for the podcast, but I think our biggest disappointment was From Russia with Love, which is just held up as this like uber classic. And I guess I get it, because in 1963, this like the birth of the genre, you really hadn't had or seen spy movies before, but just for us personally, and we never approach this as we're trying to be movie critics. We're never trying to, our ratings are our own personal ratings, because if you want a professional movie critics review, you can find those on the internet. So why would I bother trying to like, I'm just not even gonna pretend. But just for me personally, and for David as well, like From Russia with Love scored very low with us.
Yeah,
that's a Bond movie, right?
It's the second.
Yeah. And we picked that one specifically because we were told of all the Bond films that had the most like intelligence in it, or like tradecraft in it.
I know, right?
We were thoroughly disappointed. Like, I did not enjoy. I mean, like, now that I'm older, I'm not a big fan of the Bond films to begin with. But going back and being told by everybody, oh no, From Russia with Love, you'll love it. It's definitely a spy film. And then we go back and we see it and we're like, no, this is kind of a Bond film.
So what movie is the most most accurately depicts what a real spy goes through, you think?
So we rate the tradecraft on a scale of 1 to 5 park benches. And the reason we use park benches is because of the whole iconic, like you've seen it a million times, like where the two spies, like they always meet in a park and sit at a bench and pretend that they're not actually talking to each other, just talk out of the sides of their mouths.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when the briefcases.
Cool. Yeah, with the briefcases. Yeah.
Our highest ratings so far, we've given 4 park benches to these movies. We've given it to The Company TV miniseries with Michael Keaton and Alfred Molina. We gave 4 park benches to A Most Wanted Man with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Right.
And to Munich, the Steven Spielberg movie about the Israelis going after the perpetrators of the Olympics massacre. Did you ever see Munich, Lewis?
No, I heard of it though.
I don't know if it's your kind of movie. It's pretty gritty, but yeah, it's a big hit for me.
What about those Jack Ryan movie? You think you guys do any of those? He's not technically a spy, but it's always dealing with like espionage.
We will.
But we have it on the list.
We don't have high expectations.
The Ben Affleck one is actually good, I think. There's one where Ben Affleck is Jack Ryan with where it's like a nuclear weapon situation, and it's pretty good.
Oh.
And there is a scene in it where he's talking to like his counterpart in Russia, and like so they may have even been on a bench. I'm not sure.
There's this thing. I still haven't found the sound effect, but I want to have a sound effect. Like, what is it? Like they play it back or something, that like every time we see a park bench in a movie, I want to have a sound effect.
DJ horn. Yeah.
Right. Let's get back to Spy. Let's get back to Spy Kids. They send duplicates of the kids to get the brain from them. This is stupid because there's no reason to send duplicates. In fact, that's a bad idea. If you're going to send 2 robot kids, send any other 2 robot kids. Because by sending duplicates, there's only 2 differences in what could happen. And they're both bad for you. Number 1, the kids could spot the duplicates and say, hey, what the fuck? Right?
Right.
As opposed to if you just saw a kid coming up at you that you've never seen before, you're like, hi, little kid. Let me show you my third brain. And then also for the witness factor, like if witnesses saw 2 kids beating up 2 other kids and then walking away, which isn't exactly what they do, but the kids would have been like, I don't know, there was a fight, whatever. But then they're like, no, they were like clones of each other. And then the authorities are like, oh, well, shit, that sounds weird. Let's look into it.
But if you can get close enough to somebody to switch kids on them, couldn't you have just killed them without the kids? Like, I don't understand what the kids are doing at that point. Like, I thought that was the point. Like, oh, you could kill some prime minister by having his look like it's his kid. But how do you do that without, like, if you're that close, like, you might as well just, you're in the house, you swip the kids without them even knowing it, right?
Well, I think more of the idea is that the kids, I mean, that's the capabilities we see in the movie, but the concept that the movie was trying to sell us is that the third brain makes these kids super spies. It turns them into spy kids. And then so that they would have basically a spy network, an undetectable spy network across the entire globe.
Can I use your guys' tradecraft ratings on another movie? Because I want to think of like the worst tradecraft in any movie I can think of.
I thought you already did the Spies Like Us movie with us, dude.
No, but I'm talking about not even necessarily a spy. I'm saying Infinity Ward has the worst tradecraft for the entire universe. Because how does it like something that important, like the guy's going to wipe out half the universe, and just Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, they don't find out until like he's got like 2 of the stones already. Like didn't somebody like fail some intel on that? Like shouldn't you've got like a little red packet like, hey, this guy's trying to destroy half the universe. You wouldn't like before like the last minute, before he's already got like 2 of the stones and he's coming down to Earth to get the other 2, and he's like I think that like somebody failed on that. Somebody should have gotten some intel like years ago. Like, hey, this guy's working on trying to get all the stones to kill half the universe. Maybe we got to get on that.
That is definitely a Shield's failure. Good point, Lewis.
I mean, just in the whole like universe, like not just like what yeah, they never even showed like what's everybody else doing? Like a bunch of slackers. Thinking like it is the only people doing something about it or on Earth, and whatever the girl that was the gal that's running around with all the special powers going all over the place. But other than that, what is everybody else doing? Nothing.
Right.
That's what they're doing. Sitting on their ass, all whining. Okay, well, half of us got wiped out, but like do something. Come
Right.
on.
Exactly.
They had to wait. They had to wait for Ant-Man to come out of his some rodent to jump on Ant-Man's thing for the universe to be saved. But they
Right.
didn't have that luck.
Nope.
I'm just like, what everybody else doing? I just think like there's some slackers in the universe. That's all I know. A lot of slackers.
I'm really ready to get this thing over with. Dave, you got actually we share a best tradecraft. It was you're the one with the notes, I think. That's
with Uncle Machete.
Sure. Let's just at least bring it up and let's get to debriefing.
Also, a side note: Thanos would be a terrible spy because he doesn't lie.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. So the kids are they lost the third brain. They don't know what to do. But somehow they put together that all of these spy toys that their parents have are made by Machete Inc. or whatever. And then they see a wedding photo of their dad with this guy, and on the back it says their dad and then Machete. So they go and find this guy's store, and he's running a spy shop, and it just says Machete's Spy Shop with a giant machete for the sign. And he's got all these cool gadgets, and they find out that he's his uncle. Just to give you a little context of what's going on. And so they tell him the whole story about how their parents got kidnapped. But of course, the bone to pick, or what is the grudge that he's been holding for his brother is too strong. And so he's not going to go help his brother. But what I put on here is I think Todd and I both agreed. I think this is your number 3, but my number 2 best tradecraft, that Carmen trying to get Uncle Machete, she's basically guilt tripping him the whole time. Like every step of the way, she's trying to flip Machete into just going to save their parents, and he still refuses. But she's really giving it to him, right?
She's very persistent. I think the moment where it turns into actual good persuasion tradecraft to me is when they're going to sleep, and she's just like, I guess we'll just sit here and think about how our parents are being tortured.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But she's like, you won't do it for your brother? No. What about for your niece and nephew? Like she's definitely putting on the charm. And so I thought it was good. But when they ask him how they could ever get to the castle, Machete takes them upstairs, opens up like kind of like a mini hangar, and he's got this tiny, like super fast jet. And he's like, this could take you to the castle. And she's like, oh, are you going to go? He's like, no, I'm not. And then he just puts the plane away. And when he goes to sleep, they obviously sneak out and take all his gadgets and take his plane, but he clearly didn't want them to go, and he didn't want to go, and he wasn't going to lend them this stuff. So why did he even tell it? It's kind of like when cartoons make fun of stuff, when they make stuff obvious, like here's the bad guy's hideout or something. So this made my number 2 worst tradecraft. Like, why even tell him about the plane if he clearly didn't want them to go or want him to go? So yeah, it was silly.
All right, we're going to debriefing.
Okay.
I'm ready to put this thing behind me. I'm definitely.
It was the Infinity Ward made you know that it was time, that the episode was coming to an end when I started pulling Infinity Ward references.
Right.
Agents, please report for debriefing on this operation. The director will see you now.
Well, what are some of your final impressions?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Without saying I hated it, I wouldn't have finished it. Like I would have watched about 30 minutes. I would have said, this is not a movie for me. And having finished it though, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about, clearly it's directed, I'm almost 50 years old, so this is not my movie. But was there an age, I wondered, seriously, where I would have liked this movie? And I don't really think the answer is yes. I was like already sold my soul to Star Wars at 8 years old. And from then on, I'm full on into like Time Bandits, Alien, just science fiction. Give me good science fiction. This is not good science fiction. And the kitty cute adventure thing, I looked and I was trying to think, well, what are the parallel movies that might have been around in the mid 70s, like when I was 5 years old, would I have liked this? Like maybe when I was 5, I might have kind of, you could have parked me in front of it and I probably would have dug it, but I also wouldn't have understood it.
Right.
This kids going on an adventure thing, I think it's a genre that, although you can find some examples peppered in the past, I don't think that this kind of formula of a movie was really like perfected until post E.T. is what I'm looking at. Even though, again, like when we've talked about this, I'm not saying there's no such thing as movies directed at kids, but this particular kind of, we got the grown-ups can't handle it, we got to do it ourselves, is
right.
Is what like Stranger Things is a full-on homage to. There's a reason that Stranger Things is based in the 80s, because a couple years after E.T., there's I think a kind of big explosion of that kind of stuff. But I don't think it was really there for me when I was a kid, and so I don't know. I don't think I was ever in an age.
If you're knee deep in a classic sci-fi by the age of 8, 9, and 10, I don't think you would have dug any of those movies, even if they were around.
But what was going on? Here's the thing. What was going on in your life in actually 2001? What about the tradecraft of why did they forget to put the fun in the Shrek launch Xbox game? That's a mystery I'll never know. We were there in Canada. Todd and I were there in Canada, and we still don't know why they forgot to put any fun in that game.
Shrek was a decent movie, though.
Movie, yeah, great. But the Xbox video game, not really fun. I think even Xbox Magazine reviewed it and said the same thing. This
is a tough one for me. I know I dawdled, but I wanted to put those notes out about the kind of movies. Like, was there a version of Spy Kids that I would have liked, if it had hit me at the right age, and how I don't think so? I think I've got to give this the 1. It's painful for me. The worst rating I've given on this podcast so far is for Spies Like Us at a 1.5. But and the tiny difference, and I agonized and I thought, it's definitely not a 2 for me. So it's between a 1 and a 1.5. But where I really come down to is I think that Spies Like Us is a movie I would have finished before I decided I hated it. Spy Kids is a movie I would have decided I hated it 30 minutes in. Yes, by turning it off, I would have missed a few cute little bits. I would have missed, I think the Junie actor is actually really adorable and pretty talented. Just some of his facial expressions and stuff are they get me. But yeah, I gotta give it the 1.
Oh,
I know, right?
Right. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was fun, and for a kids movie, I gave Spies Like Us a 1. So this would be at that level of storytelling. But considering it was a kids film, I think there were a lot of moments that were fun. I had fun watching it even as an adult. I probably wouldn't have watched it if we were doing it for the podcast. But I don't know. So I'm gonna go with a 2.5. I mean, it's definitely worth the watch. I wouldn't mind my kids watching it if I had kids, but I think there's a list of other things I would put up front in the queue for them to watch.
Yeah. So, oh my god, the list of things I would rather show my kids than this is
would you have liked the movie if you got turned into a Fluber?
Probably would have liked it better if I turned into a Fluber or Flugel, whatever they're called. Lewis, what are your thoughts?
Hold on. You need to plant the flag though between 2 and 2.5. You've never given a 2.5. You are sitting here with the 2s you gave to Our Man Flint and From Russia with Love, and The Men Who Knew Too Little, and the Company miniseries. Those were your 3s. So is this better than From Russia with Love?
No,
it's not.
All right, I'm changing this to a 1.5. Thanks for pointing that out to me. I'm looking at these numbers too. No, yeah, I'm going to give this, even with the boost of being a kid's film, I still got to give this a 1.5. Okay. I didn't realize that I gave those 2s. And I think Our Man Flint was more enjoyable. Thoroughly.
What about you, Lewis? If you were going to go 1 to 5, and you can use 0.5s if you need to, just to your own personal tastes.
Can I give it 1 to 6 because there are 6 Infinity Stones?
Since you're not an official member of the organization, we can't tell you what to do.
I'm going to give it 2.5 Infinity Stones.
Okay.
2.5 Infinity Stones. Awesome. My best tradecraft, really quick. My number 3, trying to flip Uncle Machete. My number 2, having Terry Hatcher being the contact point. These are my best tradecraft. Terry Hatcher being a point of contact that Gregorio would trust. My number 1 best easily is having the foresight to familiarize the kids with the agent that is tasked to protect them if anything goes wrong, and making them think that he's their uncle so that they'll trust him if he needs to come into play.
That was a really good one. I didn't even think about that one. I when you brought that up in the show, I was like, oh yeah.
That was the only good tradecraft that was easy for me to call. The other 2, I felt like I was really pulling out of my ass.
You were pulling straight. My best tradecraft, my number 3 was Gregorio pulling out a walnut and smashing it so that he could sneak out the third brain. Again, this is more of a sarcastic number 3, but it's still.
Oh, really?
Smiley is suspicious, Percy.
Yeah. I got to sneak out this third brain. What am I going to do? I'm just going to pull a walnut out, smash the walnut, and sneak out the third brain. Okay. More seriously, my number 2 was trying to flip Machete, Carmen trying to flip him. And then the number 1 was Terry Hatcher giving the bracelet in like kind of a gift of praise and, using the girl power, you're an official woman of the ranks of woman spies, and it turns out to be a tracking bracelet. So I think it was well played. Even though I don't condone manipulating children. Yeah.
My worst tradecraft, number 3. The idea of these robots is stupid because they make robot fucking noises when they move.
Right.
And they're dumb and their eyes glow. They're not going to fool anyone. My number 2 worst is that once you have Gregorio, you don't guard him, you don't interrogate him. You just completely you just pull a cartoon James Bond villain bullshit play on that. And my number 1 worst, just because I hate, I've already talked about it, but sending duplicates of the kids to fight the kids doesn't make sense. I'm glad we got here because I feel like I failed to mention this throughout this podcast. Huge. This was almost my number 1 worst. Was not necessarily bad tradecraft, but like missed opportunity spy points. You've got duplicate kids in play in a spy movie. At no point do you do a cool scene where like the robot kids go to the parents and pretend to be the kids, or like the kids going to the villains and pretending to be the robots.
Right?
Like that, to me, like when you have this concept in the first place, like that's where you go with it. That's what you do. You know, your final scene is like the villain, like ha 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 ha, and now the robot Carmen will press the button, which will activate the everything, and then you know, and we think it's the robot Carmen, but oh no, it's really the real Carmen, and like she saves the day, and blah blah. Huge, just the missed opportunity there is just jaw dropping to me.
They actually did do that once.
Where?
Junie pretended to be a robot and was copying Minion when they were trying to get Gregorio back, turning him back from a flugel back into a person. And
that, yeah, you're right. And that's plus spy points. And I did like that. When I was watching the movie, just when they played the mimicking game in the car, in the backseat of the car, I was like, oh, this is going to come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's hear your worst.
My number 3 worst tradecraft. You got 1 million cameras, but you got one thumb watching all of the cameras. And that's how Junie and Carmen slip in. My number 2 worst tradecraft was Machete telling the kids about the plane that he had that could get them to the island when he clearly didn't want to go or want them to go. And then, of course, my number 1 worst tradecraft was giving the kids the dad's message about Floop and then telling them everything about Floop when she's working on Team Floop and Team Minion. It was, spy movies information is the currency that we buy and sell and trade with. And you don't give the family jewels away to the protagonists of the story.
All right. Well, Lewis, you could tell us if you can think of one, like what is the stupidest spy thing in this movie and what is the coolest spy thing in this movie? Could you give us those?
How about I reject that question and ask you, what is my best and worst weird tangent that I did in this show?
I would have to go back. I think there was you had a great one where you asked us questions about our estimation of movies and how it changed over the course of researching the podcast. That was fun. That would be my number 1 best tangent. My worst tangent was when I started talking about the duplicate kids. I forget exactly what you started talking about some other movie entirely. You started talking about Eraser, like just out of the fucking blue. I think it was.
Like, that sounds like me. That sounds like
demonstrating that you were not listening to me, paying attention to me whatsoever. Took us like 20 minutes for me to get back on track. Okay, cool.
That was a derailer.
It's not, Lewis. God keep you, save you, love you. I think we're always going to want to bring you in when we have. And I hope you consider it a compliment. Like when we have these movies that there's so little to talk about the tradecraft and we're just talking about it for fun and because we agreed to do it.
I think it's like a mixed bag. You have to take those to get the good ones. You have to take the 4 bad tangents to get the 1 good one. They just go together. It's I can't really separate them. They all just come in a bunch.
We have a lot of fun with you, and we're super happy that you did this one with us. And
it was a lot of fun. I didn't really know what I was going to talk about either, but once we get going, we just start doing. But yeah, I didn't really have much. I didn't really have an idea what I was going to talk about.
You're our secret weapon when we have to do these kind of movies. Park benches, Dave. It's to me, it's going to come down to, is this a 0.5 or is it a 1? We got Spies Like Us and Man Who Knew Too Little. We gave 1 park benches to those movies. Somehow you wrangled me down, and probably I'm not super butthurt about it, but it looks like you probably were the force that wrangled me down to a 0.5 on Our Man Flint.
Yeah, right. I can we give it a 0.25?
Nope, it's not allowed. Okay. I think we just got to park it along with Our Man Flint.
Yeah, 0.5.
0.5 park benches.
That means
not
means
even
how
enough.
good the tradecraft is. That's what the park benches are.
Which means it's That's right. That's how accurate. That's how much you could learn about being a spy from watching this movie.
So you have had some 4s though.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, you know what? The previous episode, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, that is our 4.5. That is the best rating that we've given. So, yeah.
I just hope there's at least one person who listens to this and is like a little upset. Like, I didn't know I had to watch Infinity War to do this podcast.
Yeah, 0.5 park benches. That means half a park bench, which means not enough of a park bench for even 2 spies to sit on.
Right. Just enough for 1 spy.
Not even that, because the other half is missing, so it's slanted on the ground. It's just like,
right.
It's like
not even
lumber.
It's not even a functional park bench. That's hilarious.
That's the show, guys. Thanks so much.
And that's the end of our show. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at spies_like us. Visit us on our website at www.spieslikeus.net. You can find out about upcoming episodes. Also, what will really help us out is if you give us a review on wherever you found our podcast, either on iTunes or your Android app or YouTube or wherever you listen to us. Even if you didn't like the show, just give us a review. It'll help us give us feedback so we can make the show better. And it can also help other people who haven't found the show yet find out about us. Hey, Moira, initiate Protocol 9.
Protocol 9 initiated. This podcast will self-destruct in 20 seconds. The preceding transmission sampled the songs Ice Cold by Audionautics, Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net. Editing by Todd Hostetler.